Here we go. Maida, can you watch for people coming in?
Yeah, I sure will.
Okay, great. So let me just go get my I have a I'm actually in Ohio, in Cleveland, because I'm speaking here today, and so I'm only working on one screen, which is so hard to do. I'm sure you all can appreciate that. So let me just open up the slides and we can get cooking. So this is session 2, and we're really glad that you're all here. Please ask questions as we go through. I'm Amy. My sister Maida is, of course, here also. Here are our email addresses if you have questions after the class. Spencer and Julie, you weren't here last week, but we know Vanessa from some different, I'm kind of in the national level of NAR. I might have been on a committee. I run a committee for NAR. So I've met a lot of people through Women's Council and, of course, just through NAR. And she thought that what we did was going to be helpful. I don't want to spend too much time, but my sister Maida is a CPA. She's not in the real estate industry, but she helped me over the last 10 years figure out how to retire, and I can actually retire today, and that's putting her principles in place. And as a real estate professional my whole career, I also teach. I am a right brain person. Numbers drive me batshit goo. So she was able to really help me, and that's what this course is all about. So what we're going to be doing today is, last week we just showed you how to get in to the course. And in the course, there's a mindset section, which is the first section we wanted you to read. And then we wanted you to look at the business plan and the entity structures, which is what we're going to talk about today. But the course also covers how to choose the right financial planner, because to do this right, just like you have a cleaner who cleans your house, or you get your clothes dry cleaned, you need someone who knows what they're doing. But there's all different types of financial planners out there, and we want someone who understands real estate. So critical. And then that financial planner, like in my case, they had me sell some of my rental properties. I still have rentals, but I've been putting some of them into passive investments, so I don't have to deal with tenants. And I also have bought some, purchased some, put money into Maida's going to talk about them today, some of the retirement vehicles that are out there for entrepreneurs like us that have saved me tons of money in taxes, like crazy good. So think about it. If you had 100,000 last year with a financial planner, it was a good year. We made 28% on our money. You would have 128,000 now. Plus, you would be saving money on your taxes. So that's why it's important to understand this stuff. And then we talk about the different types of real estate you can own, and then we help you. So does that make sense, everybody? I was going to go into the business plan if that makes sense, everybody. Maida, I'm gonna let you monitor the chat because I'm on the one screen.
I'm monitoring the chat. I'm ready to go.
Okay, good. So we've all heard about writing business plans. We're all doing business plans, and I've done business plans every year. I put them together and I basically put it in a drawer. What my sister did was help me create a business plan that will help me figure out my retirement. And the way this is written, you can literally bring your business plan to a financial planner and say, okay, help me. And that's what I did. So that's why ours is a little bit different, because it talks about your personal wealth, your business wealth. It talks about what you should invest, what works for you, right? What are your income projections for the next 5 years? And when do you want to retire? So for me, I don't think I'm going to retire, but I can. And that's the cool part. And that's what I think all of us feel like. We would be bored. Some of us aren't. But I would be. I do need to keep my brain going with real estate. So I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to go live on this plan and show you how to download. But let me just show you 3 slides, and then I'll show you how it works. First thing we do in the plan is we have you put all of your business costs together. And if you use a product like QuickBooks, or if you have If you don't have that, you're going to have to go through your credit card bills or your bank statements, but you need these numbers solid. And these are basically yearly fees. So board dues, staging, photography, your license renewal, training. And I just made these numbers up. These are not real, but I mean, they could be real basically, but I just put all of these numbers. So you can see it's professional development, marketing, technology, and general, because all of these things can get written off and help reduce your taxable income. And if you're not doing it now, you need to. It's amazing how much money you can save. So the first thing is business costs. I'll show you that in the thing in a minute. But then we go to personal expenses. And many business plans in real estate don't include this. And this is critical. So your personal expenses, I do this monthly. So I made up for this person with their, mortgage and all of those things, utilities, they're anything like they do monthly. That's probably pretty low. It's probably more like 600, right? Gym membership, haircut, food, entertainment, family obligations, health and medical, debt payments, and charitable contributions. So this is a pretty low number. Yours will most likely be higher, but you put it in and then you multiply it by 12. Now remember, if you have a significant other in your life, you might only be responsible for half of this, or maybe a different, however you and your significant other work together. So then you have that number. So you have your business expenses, your personal, and now wealth goals. No one ever does this. And I'm going to actually send you two recordings. One is from a guy who is a young kid who talks about how he lays out his monthly income. And he has his wealth goals. I'm like, yes, like that's what we need to be doing. So for example, for this person, it was annually, they want to save for family vacation. They want to put 15,000 into a personal 401k, which Maida's going to show you, which can save you a lot of taxes. And this person has not gotten their rainy day fund set up. A rainy day fund in my world is about 30,000. That's where I keep mine, just so I know I have peace of mind. If anything goes south, I have $30,000 saved. It's in a high yield savings account, but totally liquid. So I'm making 4.5% on it, but at least it's making some money and it's liquid. So that's what this person's wealth goes. So think about it. We have business, personal, and wealth. And let me go back one slide. So what we have is we have the business take home, what we need to fund our business, our personal, and our wealth goals. So totally, this person has to generate at least $113,000 to accomplish what they want. But then this is the other piece that's really important. It's a little bit small, so I hope you can see it. But basically, we get into the taxes. And Maida can explain this when I go live. But you're going to have your net income, whatever you're trying to make. You can take off, Maida will talk about this, anything that you're putting into an IRA. So remember that person's putting 15,000, so that comes off. So your net taxable income is 98,000 this person. Then we're just doing averages now. This is where a financial planner helps you. There's some itemized deduction that this person has. Remember all the things they laid out? So now their net taxable income is 88,000. But they haven't gotten their taxes. So based on the numbers that we use in our form, that person needs to have another 30,000 to pay. So in reality, they need to make 143,000 for the year to cover everything. Investments, growth, pay for their taxes. So that's how the plan is a little bit different. And I also have on the form something else that I'll show you in a minute, which we call your gross commission income. Maida, anything before I go live on this? I kind of want to go live and show it to them.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the taxes. I want to kind of give you some definition on that.
Sure.
So it might seem a little bit high to you, but it includes your income tax on your income, but also your self-employment tax on your business income, because you're sole proprietors. You have to pay your own Social Security and Medicare tax. So that's why it seems a little bit high. But by ignoring it, that's how people get in trouble, because they think their income tax is a lot lower than it really is. They don't include those two line items.
And Maida, I just paid my taxes and I overpaid. So I overpaid, I'm getting 6,000 back, but I still owe 5, so it's breaking even. But the fact that I already had that money saved is such peace of mind. I don't have to worry about going into debt or anything like that. So it's really, really important. So this is the actual plan, and you'll notice if it's a red field, don't touch it. So what you'll do is you'll just put in, your numbers, and what it'll start doing is, I'm just going to put some numbers in here. And I don't even really know what these numbers
Maybe
are.
you could scroll down a little, Amy, so they can see that the pink field at the bottom is a formula and
I,
it's adding it up automatically for you.
I will, but I want to fill some
Okay.
of.
Okay.
So let's say neighborhood farming, I do a postcard every month. So let's say that's 1,500. My little farm, you get the idea. Past customers, 1,200. You start putting all these numbers in and notice that they're adding up in this formula. So they're already done for you. So really get these together. And I'll tell you, when I brought this to my financial planner, I was mortified because I own a lot of real estate, but I only had about $125,000 at the time, 10 years ago, saved. But now, like I said, I can retire. So don't be frustrated, and remember, I'm in Connecticut where our average sale price is 400. So you start doing the math. We live a little differently here. And then your personal expenses. So let's say this is 2,500. My utilities are, with everything, is 500. Maybe this is 600. Food is 1,000. You get the idea. You'll notice how it starts adding up. Now, again, you might only be, for the personal, you might only, you're sharing that with maybe somebody. You put your wealth goals. So I want to fund my 401k for 2025 taxes, and I want to put 20,000 in for that. So you put that in. I want to do a vacation. Oh, Maida, we're going to Hawaii for Christmas next year. So get your ducks in order, okay? We already decided.
We'll talk offline.
So here you'll notice that business annually, that's, well, I can remember, I didn't fill all of these out, but notice how it brings them all together so I know where I am. And then the formula, what I love here, it already does the taxes. Is there anything on this part, Maida, you want to share on how the tax piece works before I move on? I'll make it a little bit bigger.
No,
Anything?
I think I mentioned it earlier, but in this particular case, you could um, you could put, well, you were going to put 20,000 into your 401k, so input that. And then the itemized deductions, you see over here, it says, I said, check your tax return, page 1, line 12. That's where you'll find the itemized deductions for, in this case, for 2024. So you could use the same number unless you know but for 2025, it's going to go up because we get to deduct more of our real estate taxes. And California, that's really a big boon if you have a recent personal property. So I haven't updated this for the new tax law, but but let's say you put 20,000 in that because you pay a lot of real estate tax, new purchase of a home, and you could deduct more. So now you see the total income required is 111,000.
Right.
And oh, I'm sorry. And then the taxes, yeah, we're still using the 35% taxes because the self-employment tax doesn't go away. Your income tax may go down. And you know what? It's this is hard because it's national. Some states have high tax, some states have low tax. You guys in California, we know we have a higher tax than they have no tax in Florida. So for you, this works out perfectly. If you're in Florida, it might be overstated.
What I'm going to share down here too is we also talk about, we put in your broker split. If you want to play with this, what are the average sales commission you have? What's your split with your broker? What's the net commission to you? So you can play with these numbers as well. But what we also have on the plan at the bottom is I do have a filled out form so you can see what it looks like with numbers. So you can kind of get an idea if you're looking for inspiration. But we also have what we call the GCI. And let me bring this up a little bit bigger. So what this is this shows you how many units you need to sell for the year. So let's say this person's gross sales were 8.5 million. Their average sale is 500. I know, don't laugh, come to Connecticut. So I need 17 closed units to accomplish what I want. My gross commission is 212, and I will be getting 148,000 based on that. Now,
Can I say one thing, Amy?
yeah,
It's that 8 million. Could you just hover on that? I think there's a formula in there.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a formula somewhere in there. That's based on, I backed into that based on all these other numbers because I wanted to make a bridge between the business plan and your GCI. So it really hits home how hard you have to work to make those numbers happen and make the business plan happen.
Well, on average, you have to sell 40 million gross sales of real estate to get $1 million. So that's why this makes sense. So look at it, it's like less than 250. It's about 8.5 million. But just so you know, people who say that they're making $1 million, they're selling $40 million of gross sales. Now, here's a kind of a fun formula for you. So let's say your average sale price, whatever you put it in, your average commission, and then so that gives you your average. So let's say the average sale price in what's your average sale price, Julie, or Spencer, or anyone else who's on. Give me a number. I'm going to put your numbers in here.
Like you could do 1, 2, maybe, or 1 million. I don't.
1.2
Million
million.
too. Yeah.
Okay. So so what I'm gonna put here, let me do that. Is 2.5 reasonable?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 30,000. Your commission split. I don't know if you're doing 70. I'm going to leave 70 just for that. We're not talking commissions or anything here. That could be apples or oranges. That then you'll be getting, in this case, $21,000 per transaction. So you'll notice here that this person only has 20% listings, 80% buyers. So of the 17 units they need, that's where they are. Now, you can change these numbers. Let's say you want to have 5 listings. Notice it goes to 14. See how that works? But here, these numbers are from NAR. So of closings that go to pending, only 80% of them close. So you could say you need 5 closings, but you'll notice you're probably going to, I had to change those numbers here. You really need 17 sales and 6 listings to get to the number because things fall out. So, and this means that you need to work with 22 buyers and 8 listings. I love how this makes it so simple. When you know you only have to find 8 listings, really, really cool. And then last but not least, these numbers, and you can read about these numbers, I have the link below. Appointment to listings is 85%. So technically, you need 10 listing appointments and 27 buyers. Now, oy vey, who wants to work with 27 buyers? I think she should change this a little bit, right? Oy vey. Although I want to tell you something cool that I just figured out that I've been doing this year, and I'd love to share it with you guys sometime. I will just finish here. So this tells me I need 37 appointments because I work 48. So maybe you only work 40 weeks a year. You can change those numbers, but I'm put 48 in for now. So I only need 1 appointment a week. Like, okay, but how do I get there? Basically 20 prospects to find 1 appointment. So that means if you're working 5 days a week, you have to reach out to 4 people a day, whether it's phone calls, connections, emails. It's not liking a social media post. And you've heard this from all the coaches, right? Please, you can DM people and talk to them about real estate. It's funny. I'm teaching a class today called your value prop, and I wrote it about. It was actually 2019. I was coaching a young man, my son's friend. He's a realtor in New York, Manhattan, and he got invited to one of his finance bros parties. And he's like texting me the building. He took a picture of like the place. It was like rocking, like tons of deals and money. Like he was super excited to be there. He was a college buddy. The end of the night, he's meeting people. Then he meets this young gentleman. They connect, they hit it off. And at the end of the conversation, this guy goes to my friend Gino. So what do you do for a living? And Gino, tells him he's in real estate. And the guy goes, man, because I wish our friend told me about you. He goes, I just put a co-op on the market because I run my family's office. You all know what that is. He sells all their real estate. So Gino said his heart sunk, but he tried to keep a smile on his face. And he goes, so what's the address of the property? And I get a call the next morning. Amy, $4 million. I lost. What am I doing wrong? And I'll get off my preaching in a second, because he wasn't telling his friends and his vendors and everybody what he does and how to connect with him. So I will share, when I came back into real estate after I left my corporate job anywhere in 2021, I called all of the vendors, all of my connections that we tell you to have here. I connected with past customers, my neighbors, my everybody. And I reminded them, hey, I'm back out selling real estate. You know, I've specialized in working with people buying investments, first-time home buyers, and of course, the luxury market. And I go, if you're with anybody who's thinking about marketing or buying or selling, text me right away. I would love to help your friends. And text me, call me, don't be shy. And it's been great. Mostly of my business is referral because I'm not afraid to say that. So I went off topic, I know, but that's not hard to do for a day. I love it. This is your sleep number for a day, and you will be able to reach your goals, hopefully. So this is the business plan. And then the last one is just for you to kind of figure out where you're going to get that business. So you can fill this in, top resources, market segments. So that gives you some ideas. So this is downloadable in our actual program. So let me go in now to the product itself. So in the Fiscal Fitness Blueprint, which is where you are, under the first section here, welcome to Fiscal Fitness, you go here and you can read through all this. I do want to remind you to download your business plan. And this is here, and you just go in here and you download it right here. Make sure you download the updated handout. It is in here too. Let me just make sure you can, let me just preview all of these. I have to preview all published so you can see it. Bear with me. Sorry. So let me go back. If you haven't downloaded the handout, it's here. And it's a fillable PDF. So please download it. It's everything that we're talking about in here. How to fill out your business plan is in here, as you can see. And I know I'm probably making you nauseous, but let me go back up. So you can download it here. Here's the plan. Last but not least, I want to remind you, we have our own GPT. If you're on ChatGPT and you click on this, it opens up another button, and it only has, we uploaded everything about our class in here. So you can ask it anything for your personal questions. So you could ask it right here, anything. What would be a solid investment plan for traditional vehicles if I have 10 years left? I'm just making that up, and it will answer. It does not go out on the web. It only uses our content. So definitely come in here and play with our chat, our own GPT. So it's pretty cool. And it'll get to know you, and it'll even give you better answers. So that is that. And then I guess the last thing I just want to share before I go, I'm going to go back to the slides because it's kind of important. I want to just show you what I meant by this. Hold on one sec. Hopefully I'm not talking too fast. This is what I got back from my financial planner based on my business plan. This was, you'll notice it's back, and this was from 2021, 2022, based on 9.6 million in sales and up to 12, because I was trying to get up to 12 million. And he basically shows, he took everything that I did and put it into this. And I think that's it. So Maida, was there anything else you wanted to share about this? And then I want to open up for questions on the business plan.
I just wanted to say that I'm responding to Spencer right now. He asked, are the GCI numbers connected to the business plan? Yes, they are. They should carry forward, Spencer. But if you have a problem, let me know. I tried to make it all interconnected. And then Jennifer said when she went to download, she got a message saying unable to load. What were you trying to download, Jennifer?
Well, you know what I could do? I could
Um,
share right now.
I was just trying to download the business plan.
That's weird.
Okay.
You know what? Let me just put this here and then let me send everybody the link in the chat just so you have it. How's that sound? And I'm going to stop sharing. But anything on that thing that crazy form that everyone just saw on what the power of that is, Maida? Do you want to share?
Excuse me. What was the power of what?
Well, that last sheet I had up, that my
Oh,
financial.
the financial statement. Yeah. We put that in because if you are getting to a point where you have your stuff in QuickBooks, and you can produce a report, a profit and loss report, or you have a bookkeeper or someone who's helping you, like Amy has her big sister. Um, you can produce a financial statement like that for your business. And if you do your business plan, first of all, you can use those numbers to populate your business plan that Amy just went through on the Excel spreadsheet. But also, I would give it to a financial planner or your CPA or your tax preparer when you're doing your taxes at the end of the year, because they could use that to prepare your taxes. And one of the things we're really trying to talk about as we go through this is we don't want you to just look at that tax return and go, oh, okay, must be right. That's the worst way to sign your tax return. So we want you, and sometimes your tax preparer may not provide that service of going over it with you line by line. So we want you to be able to give your tax preparer your financial statement, take a look at the tax return you get, and the numbers should be the same. If they're not the same, then you can send a short email to your tax preparer and say, I show that I have $10,000 of net income. You show I have 20. What's the difference? Then they can give you a targeted answer. And if their answer is wrong, then you can correct them and get your tax return to where you need it to be. But we want to try to teach you to start learning how to review your tax return so you're empowered and in control of this because it's your financial future, not your accounts. Okay? And also your financial advisor, they like those a traditional format. They like those. So that's always useful too.
I will tell you, learning about this, I found mistakes that my accountant did with my, it was amazing now that I'm learning how to do this. So you want to make sure you're saving the best. Anything else, Maida, in the Q&A before we get into the other section? Because we want to make sure we're done.
No. Oh, let's see. You
Good.
put the link for the, yeah. We'll find out why it's not working. It should work because we got into it. So, but please save that link and download the business plan. Okay, are you going to take your laptop with you?
What do you, oh yeah, I am. So, why?
So you need to turn this over to me and then I need to share my,
Making you host.
okay. Okay. Okay, people. So you're just going to have to bear with me a second so I can get this up on mine.
Hold on, Maida. Jennifer, if you have any other questions, you can email me. I'll put my email in the box and I'll help you with it later today. And Spencer, I hope that was helpful.
Okay, let's see here.
I'm just going to do my regular email, not my fiscal fitness.
Okay, you guys seeing the financial statement now?
Yeah, but you're going to put it into slideshow mode.
Yeah, I am.
Sorry, I'm picky.
Well, I know. It's okay. Hey, how come it's not working? Slideshow.
There it is. Just do it again. No, from current slide. See, it says second one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You got it.
Okay, good. Okay, super. Okay, Amy, have a good course.
Thanks.
Teach hard.
Yeah, baby.
Huh?
I can stay for another 10 minutes and then I'm going to.
Okay, great. So now we want to talk about entity structure for your business. And maybe you could, in your chat, tell me what, I don't think I can get the chat up. Let me get your chat up. What kind of, or just shout out, what, are you also proprietors or do some of you have LLCs or S Corps?
So Julie asked about being a sole proprietor and you are, Julie, she is going to cover that today, okay?
Yeah. I just want to know who's what. Are you also proprietors? Just shout out. Spencer.
LLC with S corp for taxes.
I'm an
Okay,
S
good.
corp. I'm an S corp.
You're all S corp?
Sole proprietor.
Who's the sole? Shannon?
Me. Julie.
Julie. Okay, okay. Great.
Sole proprietor here.
Two souls and a one LLC with S corp. Okay.
Two
So,
proprietors.
I'm an S corp too. So
okay.
Who's
Okay, so you all know, so if you're an S corp, then you're pretty sophisticated because you understand the power, how much tax you can save by being an S corp, right? When you're a sole proprietor, that's the easiest thing to set up, and it's a good first step. But it doesn't give you the liability protection that an LLC or an S corp would give you, and that's one of the reasons. Once you hit, a decent amount of net income, you might want to transition to an LLC and or an S corp. And what's a decent amount of net income? What we're looking at in this particular situation is tax. So I'm going to explain that to you now. In sole proprietorship, you have two levels of tax. All your income that you earn in your business is considered earned income, and you're taxed on that. That's what you pay your Social Security and your Medicare tax on. That's about 12%. I'm using round numbers. And then that net income gets added to all your other income, gets reduced by your itemized deductions, your 401k, your IRA contribution. That's your taxable income. Remember, Amy just showed that in the business plan. Then you pay income tax on all of that. So LLC is pretty much the exact same tax protocol. But in an LLC, you have certain liability protections. And it depends on your state you're in and how you're set up. If your license is with your broker, which likely it is, then you have to take a look at your business liability. How much is it limited by the LLC and how much of it is covered by the broker? But that's a legal question. I can't answer that, but that's something you should consider. Once you reach a certain point, so where you're getting close to where you're starting to pay a lot of Social Security and Medicare tax, you might want to convert to an S corp, and that's where you can save some significant Medicare and Social Security tax. So I would say once you're at about $50,000 to $75,000 of net income, then it starts making sense to move into the S corp. But there's a return on investment you want to consider because the S corp costs more to set up. You have to have a corporation. It takes more effort to maintain it. How many of you in S corps actually do annual minutes? Anybody?
I don't.
Even if you just have a meeting, excuse me.
I pay my tax professional to handle all of that. Just try to keep my QuickBooks up to date, and they take payroll and everything else.
Perfect. That's a really smart way to go. But you still have to sit down with yourself every year and have a meeting with yourself and say, these are my annual minutes for the year, nothing changed. Or these are my annual minutes for the year, and you made them very vague, Spencer, but you need to basically kind of say, my goal for next year is to make gross, have my GCI be 350,000. That's our plan. We're setting up a budget and everything to produce that. You don't want it to be too specific, because if you get audited, one of the things they're going to want to make sure is that you're a true S corp, is that you actually follow all the rules, especially in California, and that you do the annual minutes. Okay. So in an S corp, you're taxed. You get to divide it up between. You get to allocate the amount you want to allocate to your earned income. Remember, earned income is what's subject to Social Security and Medicare tax. So let's say your net income in your S corp is $150,000, and you decide to take out a $75,000 salary. You'll pay Social Security tax on that $75,000. you're going to pay income tax on your salary and the remaining net income in the S corp, which is going to total 150. But that's a lot less tax. You've saved $9,000 in Social Security tax if you're an S corp, compared to if you're an LLC with 150, you would pay Social Security tax on the whole thing, which would be about 18K. Is that clear?
No.
No. Okay. I didn't think it was clear, Julie. Okay. So what is unclear?
Um, well, you're saying if you made a total of 150, whether you were taking it as a sole proprietor or claiming yourself to be an S corp, if you were an S corp on that same 150, nothing changes except your designation, you'd save $9,000 in taxes?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, huh? Okay.
How could that possibly be? But
Yeah.
you have to take, like Spencer said, he has his tax professional pay payroll that his 75,000 for hypothetically comes out to him in the form of a salary. So he's paid payroll taxes on that salary. So remember if when you had a job when you were a kid and you got a little measly paycheck and they took half of it out in income tax and social security tax and whatever else they took out, that's what he's doing in his
Okay,
corporation.
so you have to set yourself up first, well, you need somebody to help you, but you would set yourself up on a payroll, so you'd have a set amount that you're making every month. And then that's not going to equal up to your 150. So I guess you're taking out your taxes and whatever along the way. But what if there's like an extra chunk in there that you didn't account for?
Well,
'Cause
no, the way the salary works is, let's say Spencer says his salary is going to be 75,000. Okay. And so he has a gross salary of 75,000. He pays tax on that, but he's going to withhold payroll tax from his 75,000, and that's going to be paid directly to the government through his corporation, not through his tax return, like if you're an LLC, like you would do. Okay. And then the other 75,000 of net income he has, that's not subject to Social Security tax. So he saves all of that.
So I think the way my CPA described it to me is I have to take a reasonable wage every year based on my income, and that gets divided up into, monthly or bi-monthly payroll. And I also pay, estimated taxes to the IRS and the state based on my income. So I'm basically a business entity, and then I'm also an employee. And on the employee side, I'm a W-2. And then on the business side, yeah, essentially my effective tax rate in the state of California came down to about 25%, when all was said and done,
Right.
from, probably about 35% when for your average Californian. So it helps. It's complicated, but it helps.
It's complicated. And so that's why, it sounds great to save the $9,000 in tax on my hypothetical situation, but you have to really be committed to having people help you do it because, I was in practice for 30 years and I had clients who were in S corps for the whole 30 years. And really, it was very difficult for them to even understand at the very end. So it's difficult to understand. The other thing I would say, because I love what you said to me, Spencer, is that we've had a lot of discussions with many tax professionals, other professionals in the field, and even the IRS about what's reasonable compensation. And it's very gray. So I don't, your CPA may have a different rule of thumb. My rule of thumb was that I would try to keep it under, I think it's the Social Security Medicare ceiling is 150,000 now, at least the Social Security is. So I try to keep it under that if I could, because they want to say payroll tax. But on the other hand, if I had a client who was really knocking it out of the park, and they wanted to put a very high retirement plan contribution in, I would say, might as well pay all the Social Security tax because you're going to get a better benefit by a higher retirement plan contribution. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing, Julie, is if you're just starting out your S corp, you don't have to take a biweekly payroll if you don't want to, because in your industry, your income is so cyclical. You might take a quarterly one, and you can take distributions out of an S corp also. So you
Does
can
that-
take loss out of an S corp. You, as an owner, you take money two ways out of your S corp. You can take it out as salary, which you have to do. You have to take some salary unless you're losing money. And then and then the rest of it you can take out as a distribution. And that's not subject to payroll tax.
So is the part you take out distribution still a W-2 or is that a
No.
1099?
It's not, no, well, remember, you have a corporation. So you're going to take money out on a W-2, and then the rest of the net income you pay tax on. So since you're paying tax on it in your tax return, you don't have to take it out as a W-2 or a 1099. There's no 1099 if you're the owner and employee of a corporate of a S
Okay.
corp.
Okay.
But I used to have employees, and I don't recommend this, but I did have some clients who they didn't, because their income was so cyclical, they didn't want to take out a monthly payroll or a biweekly payroll. They just wanted one W-2 a year. And a lot of the payroll tax companies are set up to do this. So we do tax planning in November. They would take all their distributions out, and then what we would do is we would reclassify distributions to the reasonable comp, and they'd pay all their payroll taxes in December. That's another way you can do it, but I'm not recommending it. You have to have a bookkeeper who's on top of it. You have to have a relationship with your CPA, and the CPA is willing to back into that at the end of the year. Many will. It's not like a no, but it's just another way of looking at it. So you get a little bit more flexibility. The other thing is if your reasonable compensation, let's say on 150, you and your CPA decide that 50,000 is reasonable. Yeah, I'm not saying it can't be. And what Spencer's saying is on the 50,000, he might not want to withhold all the income tax that he's going to owe on his net income from that business. So he withholds small for the income tax, and he pays estimates in on a quarterly basis. That's another way to control the cash flow. Right, Spencer? I'm sure that's one of the things you consider when you're doing that.
Yeah.
So again, it's much more elegant, but it requires a lot more energy and thought. And you need to have a trusted advisor. In our course, we talk about having a trusted advisor circle. You need to have a trusted advisor that you can depend on to do this with you and make time for you to do this. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the appropriate retirement plan now. So it used to be that we would say back in the old days, you wanted your retirement to be a three-legged stool: Social Security, retirement plan, and savings or investments. In your case, your savings might also be your personal real estate portfolio. Social Security, we don't know what's happening with Social Security. So so what's going to happen is you're going to have to put more into a qualified retirement plan that you set up yourself, and or investment savings securities and your real estate. So the power behind this is the money you can save in taxes. And in the course, we have a section where we do an example of how much money you can save in income taxes. And last week, Chris Snowden talked about that too. If you're putting money into one of these retirement plans we're going to go over in just a minute, that is a deduction on your tax return. So that reduces that taxable income that you're paying tax on. Like in the example Amy showed on the budget, 15,000 in the retirement plan, that reduced the taxable income by 15,000. And if your effective rate is 20, 25, 30%, you're saving that much in taxes. And Chris likes to say, think of it as borrowing it from the government, or actually it's a tax-free grant from the government you get to use to invest in other things toward your own retirement.
A quick
so-
question on that.
Mhm.
The 15,000 number, it was my understanding you could do 7,500 a year into a 401k. Are we talking like they're doing one 401k and one IRA to get
No,
to
I'm
that
gonna go over
15?
that. That's not right. I'm gonna go over that with you right now.
Okay,
Okay? See the next slide on the screen?
gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I can slow down now because we can spend some time to talk about this. And you guys are great. You're asking great questions, and that's really the way to learn this stuff, is asking questions. So there's I didn't list the traditional IRA on this. Traditional IRA is $6,000 or $7,000 a year, depending on how old you are. Okay. And if you're earning good money, I don't recommend a Roth at this point. When you're first starting out and you're not paying much in tax, Roth is great. But at this point, you need the tax shelter. So either a traditional IRA, which is the $6,000 or $7,000, depending on your age. It might be 7,500. The SEP IRA, the simple IRA, or the solo 401k. And there's another whole set of plans above this where actually in California it could make sense. And I'll talk about that the last few minutes so you understand what that is. The SEP IRA is easy to set up. There's no administration fees. And actually, if you're doing your taxes next month and you get a big surprise, you made more money than you thought, and you know that number like at the beginning of October, you could probably set up a SEP IRA and fund it before for 2024. And we're almost at the end of 2025. That's a really cool thing. It's 25% of your income subject to self-employment tax. So let's say you have $100,000 of earned income from a sole proprietor or LLC, and or $100,000 of salary in your S corp. Okay, you have to subtract the amount of self-employment tax you paid. So $100,000, let's say it's 12. So that brings you to $88,000 of earned income. You multiply that times 25%. That's how much you can put into your SEP IRA. There's a max on your SEP IRA of I think it's about $63,000 this year. But when you think about that, the number that you have to earn to be able to put the 63,000 away, it's a big number. So to me, SEP IRAs are great if you're earning about $100,000. Once you start earning much more than that, there are better ways to go. Okay? One of them, the next one, would be a simple IRA. A simple IRA, we're going to use the word defer. That basically means you set up the simple IRA with your investment advisor. And if you're at a point where you're just starting out, you might use Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab as your investment advisor. And then if you get into the larger numbers, you might want to move over to a private investment advisor like Chris, who we talked to last week, or you could go to a corporate investment advisor like Morgan Stanley. At those big houses, they have small businesses within the large business. So you work with a group. Um, so in a simple IRA, you can just set it up. Again, no administration fees, very simple. Probably better simple, set it up with a Vanguard or a Schwab. And you could if you're under 50, you can put 16,000 in. You just put it in. So you could put that in monthly or quarterly or 4,000 a quarter if you want. It doesn't matter how much you earn. So let's say you don't earn let's say you don't earn 100,000. Let's say you earn 50,000 and you have a partner, and that you and your partner are each contributing enough to run your household, and you want to maximize a traditional retirement plan, you could put 16,000 into the plan. As long as you earn, like if you're earning 25,000, you could put 16,000 in the plan because there's payroll taxes and stuff there on top of that. Okay. So if you have a partner, what I used to do with my clients, where there was a partner, maybe the husband was an architect, this is one example, and his wife was an artist. So we set her, she helped in the business, and so we set her up as an employee of the business. And every year he contributed an amount equal to what he contributed for himself into they actually had a 401k. And so they were putting double duty in. Okay. So you could do that with a simple IRA. After you get up to more than $100,000 of net income, or you want to put more in, then you could put a solo 401k. The solo 401k allows you to put in the most. And again, it doesn't matter what your salary is. So let's say you decided that your reasonable compensation is $50,000, but you're under 50, so you're going to put 23,000 in. Well, what I would do is I would make my reasonable compensation $75,000, right? Because I need the 50,000 to live on, that's what I'm calling it reasonable. I would make it 75, put that 23,000 in the solo 401k. I have the same amount of money to live on, but I have sheltered 23,000 from my total tax bill. Because remember, your net income from that corporation was 150,000. You're putting 50,000 in salary, you're saving Social Security tax on that. And then the rest of it, you're going to pay income tax on. Now you're reducing your taxable income by $23,000. That makes sense.
One question, with the IRA, you're paying tax up front, right? And then with the 401k, you're going to end up paying taxes when you eventually take out of the 401k for retirement?
Yeah, let's talk about that. On the IRA, on any of these plans, you're putting money away in a qualified plan. You don't pay tax until you pull it out. And if you pull it out after age 50, you do not have any early withdrawal penalties. If you started this, when you're younger and you're putting a lot of money in and you have a hiccup in life, a medical issue, or there's a downturn in the economy and you need money to send your kid to college, you can pull money out of those plans. There are emergencies where you can do that under age 50. But generally what you want to do is going back to what Chris said, is that if you're going to be invested in the stock market, some of the best days in the stock market happen during the worst downturns. So if you keep it in there, you'll make more money over the long run. I don't know if you remember that graph. But so you keep that money in until you have to pull it out. Now you can start pulling it out at 59 and a half without paying any penalties. Okay. But what most people do is they're still working when they're 59 and a half. So why pull it out? So they'll keep it in as long as they possibly can. So it grows tax free as long as it possibly can. And if you're still working, once you reach, I think it's 65 or 66, you can't put money in an IRA anymore. If you were using the traditional IRA, but you can put money into any of these plans. And so, for people who are working longer, and they're doing it because they're making more money, they're not doing it, unless they have to, but assuming they're making more money and they don't want to give up the gravy train, then you could still shelter your income with a solo 401k, for instance. So when your age right now, the required minimum distribution age is age 73. So when you're 73, you have to start pulling out. It's pretty much, the IRS assumes that you're going to live 20 more years after your RMD age. So they're assuming you're going to live to your 93. You pull out 1/20th of your value of your investment account that's in that solo 401k, for instance, every year. That's when you start pulling it out. There are other plays that you could make, but we're running out of time, and that will be a topic for another day. And I see Julie has a question.
You said that if you're making more money, the solo 401k was I think you said this, a better vehicle than the SEP IRA. But for me, if I'm looking at that, let's say you're making, I don't know, I'm going to make up a number. Let's say you make 200,000. From the SEP IRA, you get 25% of whatever was your earned income, but which would be more than what your 23,000 with the 7,500 would be on the solo 401k.
So your 200,000 is your net income in on your Schedule C. Okay. And your Social Security tax on that's going to be about 20,000. So you're looking at 180. And you're right, it would be higher than the 23,000, but there's a component you can also elect with a 401k. It's a great question, Julie. You can also elect something called a profit sharing 401k.
Uh-huh.
And so you could put in up to 63,000. So if you want to put 63,000 into your SEP, right? I don't have my calculator with me, but if you want to put 63,000 in, if you take 63,000, do you have a calculator and divide it by 25, by 0.25? Anyone have a calculator handy?
Sorry. You said
That number.
63,000?
Huh?
What, you take 63,000, where did you get that?
Divided by, you could put, in a solo 401k, you could also put 25% of your net income, of your earned income, of the net income in the business.
Oh, okay. Well, then
into a
that, I
profit
see.
sharing.
Okay, that's where the extra comes from. Because when I was just looking at it like this, I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, that was a great question. I usually don't go that far on this.
No,
but
that makes sense now.
That's why these are,
Okay.
doing this face to face is better.
Okay.
But so that means that if you divide 63,000 by 0.25,
Yeah.
that's a big number.
Yeah.
But if let's say you have 150,000 in your S corp, and you could, through your paycheck deferral and your profit share contribution, you could put in 63,000. Now you've brought your taxable income way down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I see it now.
And if you have a partner that works in the business with you,
Mm.
now you've contributed 126,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just, I'm sure Amy won't mind. Do you have just a few more minutes, or do you guys need to get off? Because we're going over. Amy won't mind me sharing this story, but a couple of years ago, when it's, 2021, 22, 23, where market was big for you guys, one day she called me and she's like, oh my God, I have so much tax. What am I going to do? So we set up a profit sharing 401k, solo 401k for her and her husband. So they were able to, save like 63,000 in tax. But the person who saved the day wasn't the CPA. It was a financial advisor who set the whole thing up in 3 weeks and funded it.
Mm.
That's one of the reasons we're really hot on financial advisors, because they can really help you. Any more questions before we sign off? Okay, so next step is to really try to complete your business plan and have some questions for us. You can email us the questions if you want prior to next Monday. We'll also answer any of your questions on the business entity structure, but I think we've done that with everyone who's here today. And then Amy's going to discuss diversified investment portfolio using different kinds of real estate investments. And and then I think one of the last things we'll do is we'll talk about flipping the switch for retirement. So go back to one of those earlier slides in the course where we show the roadmap and we talk about flipping the switch 5 to 7 years before you retire, how what you want to think about doing that. One of the things that we decided to give you guys, since you're in our beta group, is we're having a tax planning webinar November 18th. And if you'd like, we're going to give you free attendance to it. And then in December, we're doing a business planning webinar. If you bring a guest, we'll give you a free attendance to that too. And then we'll be talking to you next week about our deep dives. So those are continuing conversations that we have, kind of like the conversation we had today, but they're on specific topics. So you can get more depth in terms of your questions and your understanding of this topic. And I think that's it. We want to thank you for attending the course and have a good day. Go make some money.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank
stay on for you.
you.
Okay.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Welcome. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.